Hi everybody, Chris Petri here. Thanks for coming by. We're going to do a beautiful flower painting here. Just wanted to mention in the beginning of the video here, actually I had some problems with my microphone. So I think the batteries ran out after I was recording for a few, maybe 20 minutes or half an hour. So toward the end of the video, the voice goes out and you won't hear anything, as far as me speaking, but I hope that doesn't bother you. We had a great time painting this, and I want you to see this video, even though I did have, again, some issues with my my microphone. It did shut off on me. The batteries ran out, I guess, and I just didn't catch it. I wasn't wearing my headphones. Usually I wear my headphones when I'm recording so that I can hear if there's any kind of problems with the audio. But so my audio went out about maybe 3/4 of the way through the video, but that's no worries. You'll just keep watching to the end. You'll see the most exciting part really usually is toward the end when we're finishing up with all of our final washes and everything like that and doing the final details with all of the very fine shadowing and some of the twigs and stems and some of the finer details. Okay, so don't worry, with that. Just have a fun time with this. Again, most of the video, the first 3/4 of the video, you'll hear audio. So I'm explaining everything, how we go through our normal process. I'll have my paints, my palette on camera at all times. And again, we're going to go through the first part is the sketch for the first 20 minutes. We'll do the contour drawing, pencil drawing, and then we'll get into the painting. All right, we'll see you just in a second. All right, so we just saw the finished painting, and we'll get right into the sketching here and the drawing, contour drawing. So the first thing we'll do is we'll just, again, keep it kind of simple for this. We're working with a really tremendous amount of water. We're going to do a new technique, a new method in watercolor where we're going to use a board, and then we're going to take our paper and then float it into some water in like a bath of water. We'll show you all those things as we go here. So first thing though, let's get our pencil drawing done first. It's a little bit easier to draw on a dry paper, and then obviously a lot easier to draw on a dry paper like this. And then we'll move on to putting this in the bath of crystal clear, fresh, clean water. And we'll let this paper soak for 15-20 minutes, and then we'll bring it back and we'll put it onto this board, this masonite board. And if you don't have a masonite board, you can use like a clipboard or some kind of like any kind of board you can find. Maybe there's like, I don't know, there's like plywood, there's all kinds of interesting things you can use, but you'll kind of use your imagination. All you need is like a board or something that's got a smooth finish to it. Glass table would work too. If you have a glass table, like if you have like a dining room table or something like that, you could work on a dining room table with this type of a painting. But it's easier just to get something like a board or a you can get this at the local your big box stores like Lowe's, Home Depot. They have these. It's called masonite. It's basically an eighth of an inch thick board. You can see here it's about 1/8 of an inch thick, and then on the back I have some traction roll here. That roll you buy, it's like I guess for like putting down on the floor, like underneath carpets and things like that. I put that on here with some gaff tape. So I have some gaff tape with some of that carpet traction cushioning. But under here you'll see it's kind of like a rough surface. So the masonite board is 1/8 of an inch. You need the 1/8 of an inch thick masonite board, and it's got one side finished with very smooth finish, and then the other side is like a rough finish. So we're interested in the smooth finish on this side of the masonite board like this. And you can get these cut in any size. If you go and buy like a sheet, a full 4-foot by 8-foot sheet of masonite, and then you can have the people at the Home Depot or Lowe's big box stores, the hardware stores, or any probably, well, Home Depot and Lowe's have workers that can cut the boards down to your sizes that you want. So you can cut these masonite boards into any size you want. You might say, oh, I need like 2 at 20 by 30, and I need 2 at like 8 by 10, and you kind of work it out. As many as as many boards as you need. You just have them cut it off of the one sheet of 4-foot by 8-foot sheet. I know I'm getting into some of the minutia here of masonite boards, but they're really fantastic. As an artist, you can use these. You can just work with these. You can put these in your lap, tape down your paper, and just work on them, or you can use them for like this type of exercise where we're going to wet the board, wet the paper, and then use it in this fashion using the glazing technique. for the watercolor glazing technique. But in any case, we're going to get started with our drawing, and then we'll just kind of cover the rest of the information as we go here. But this is the first start of it, is let's just get our pencil drawing done, the basic first step. And we're going to do some flowers, some simple flowers. We'll take our paper and we'll just maybe make a rectangle here, like this, just so we have like a rectangle to work within. And then maybe I'll just take another piece of tape maybe here for the bottom so that my paper doesn't move around as I draw. So I'll put another piece of tape down here like that. And then we'll start out and we'll do a simple, I think I'm going to create like maybe a table and a vase to start with. So I'll do my vase to start. And I'll just do a simple vase like this. Like this. So that's a simple jar or a simple vase like this here we have. And I'm contour drawing it. And then we'll make the bottom like so, with a little bit of a curvature to it. So you want a little bit of a radius on this. You wouldn't want to draw it straight across, although if you're not comfortable drawing curves and things like that, just draw it straight. You could draw it like just straight across like a rectangle. So essentially this shape of this vase is essentially a let's see if I have, all right, yes I do. I have some extra paper here. I'd rather I'll use this anyway. But you can see this vase is actually like a rectangle. So it's like a rectangle. So you can think of it as a rectangle, or a square basically, or a rectangle like that. And then it goes up a little bit and curves in, like at the top, like this. Like that. So you can kind of start off thinking of a rectangle, and then you just curve in a little bit up here and down and curve out there like that. And then you have it. That would be that shape that you need. And then from there, I think we're kind of set. We'll make a table in the background here about just a little bit above the bottom of the vase. So I'll just take that and make a kind of like the back of the table. So we're going to pretend this is sitting on the top of a table, a vase of flowers, and we'll make some stems in the bottom of this vase. This is going to be a clear, crystal clear glass vase. And then from that point, it's just some fun flower shapes. Let's maybe do, and you can always erase a little bit if you have to. I'll erase a little bit of the top of the vase right now. I want to kind of create maybe just like maybe like a daisy. Let's do a daisy type of shape here. Like this. And then we have the center of the daisy like this. So right in the very, very top of the vase, we're having a shape of a daisy right in the top of the vase. That first bit of shapes of the flowers that we see. And then there's maybe a leaf form coming out like this. And then maybe another leaf is kind of inside the vase like this, jammed down in there. And then we'll just continue with that idea of having the like this. Right. So that's the daisy shape here of the flower. And, I'll go over a little bit darker. I'll just kind of put a little bit of the darker shapes in there so you can kind of see. Like this. And then let's create another daisy over here on the left-hand side. Why not? Let's put one up here. And then we're just going to have it the shape of it like this. Doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to kind of get the idea of the daisy petals going out, radiating out, the radiating forms of the leaves, petals of the leaf of the flower, like this, like that, and then the center of the flower like that. The daisy, the center of the daisy. So if you have that completed and you have maybe two, maybe a large one in this first, right on the in the top of the vase, we have a daisy right there, and then another one to the left here. So that's kind of nice, and that's, you know, we'll make them white daisies with some yellow for the center of the flower. Then what we'll do is we'll go with another type of flower that's going to kind of match the color scheme of this painting. We'll do a sunflower. So up here we're going to create a sunflower up top here. So let's kind of do this. We'll just like that. And then this has the center of the flower there is kind of like a brownish color, the brown color of the center of the sunflower. And maybe we're just going to have a few, maybe we'll have a couple pink wildflowers in this too. So we'll put a couple of pink wildflowers up here and over here, like this. And maybe even a few over here. Let's do another over here, like that, and maybe even another one up here. So we're going to have kind of like a bit of interesting flower shapes, and then over here maybe there's another sunflower over here. And we'll kind of put that one in profile. And if we put that one in profile, I guess we'll make the center of it kind of obscured, so we won't see that too much. We'll just have the flowers over here, the petals of the flower over here, like that. Okay, nothing too fancy. Okay, so now we have some flowers in our vase. Maybe we have a couple of interesting leaf forms coming out like this. Like, you know, a couple of leaf forms, maybe a couple of twigs, stems, you know, a little bit of interesting wild kind of interesting things like that to kind of give our painting some more interest and variety. And color too, color variation will be nice. And contrast too. We'll have some nice contrast in this. Okay, so we have the back of the table, we have the vase, we have some of these stems of the flowers in the vase. We have our flower shapes, the petals of the flowers. We have a little bit of leaf forms too as well around this arrangement, like that. And that is it. We're fine. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to paint this with the glazing technique, and also using maximum amount of water that we can is possible with the watercolor medium. So in this video, what I'm hoping to kind of like stress is watercolor is a really fun medium. It's a great medium. It's different than acrylics or oils or pastels or pencil drawings. It's all unique in and of itself. So if you want to capitalize on the watercolor medium itself, what are the real unique properties or unique virtues of watercolor? It's the water, right? Oil paintings don't have water for the most part, and neither do acrylics. You know, we're not using a lot of water in acrylics or oils or pastels or pencil drawings. So the main virtue, again, of watercolors is the water. So in this video, I'm just kind of saying, hey, you know, let's explore using the maximum amount of water we can in this painting. So what's the next thing we're going to do? Stay tuned. We're going to be right back, and we're going to show you exactly what it is. All right. So I'm hoping you're going to give me a thumbs up if you're having a good time so far, enjoying this process. Of course, we did a really fun pencil drawing here, contour drawing, and but we're going to do a lot more than that going forward here. So this is just getting started. Okay. All right. So we'll get right back to it in just a second. All right, so we got the step one done, the contour drawing of our flowers, and we're keeping it simple, just a vase and some flowers on a table. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to peel off the bottom tape here and the top tape from our masonite board, like that, and then over here, same thing. Then we're going to introduce a small, this is just a plastic Tupperware lid, tenderizer. I think this is, this is like the lid for a tenderizer for like marinating different things like chicken or beef or anything like that when you have things like that. So it's a Tupperware lid, and it's kind of thick. So and what we're going to do is create a bath. We're going to take our watercolor paper and our drawing right in here, and we're just going to set this down into the container. And then I have fresh, clean water. I usually use like an orange juice container, empty orange juice container with my filtered water that I use from the house. I have a filter on my faucet. And then I just take this and I just will fill this up with water. Maybe about an inch or two of water. Like that. At most, an inch or two. So maybe just, an inch. An inch is fine of water. And you just take your paper and you flip it a few times like this in the water. Get it drenched with water and then leave it sit for 15-20 minutes. So that's what we're going to do. So now we're just going to have a waiting game of taking this watercolor paper with our drawing on it, letting it sit in this water bath for about, again, 15-20 minutes should be fine. It'll soak almost all the way through the paper, if not all the way through the paper in 15 or 20 minutes. And you can experiment with that and see, if it's if you need more time. But usually 10 to 15 minutes usually works fine. It gets wet enough and drenched enough the paper that it works fine with our process here that we're going to use when we go back in and start doing our painting over the top of this, okay? And again, the pencil drawing is fine once you're putting your paper and pencil drawing into this water bath. Doesn't affect it in the least. And you just let it sit in there. And then maybe in 15 minutes time, maybe once or twice you just flip it over. So we'll leave it in like this for now. And then maybe I'll stop the tape. And when we come back, I'll have flipped it maybe 1 or 2 times. Kind of like an egg, if you're going to flip an egg or something like that. If you're cooking an egg for yourself, in the morning time and making some breakfast, you flip it over, you leave it like that for like another 5 minutes. Then the last maybe 5 minutes, you flip it back over again like this. So I'll start off with this side up. I'll flip it over 1 time and then 1 more time. And then by the time 15 minutes is up, we'll have a good drenched watercolor paper here, and we'll begin to do our painting. Okay, so we'll be right back in a few minutes. Alright, so we've been monitoring this here for about 10 or 15 minutes, and the paper is now saturated pretty much completely all the way through, I think, or if not, it's pretty close to it. 15 minutes. I have this has been sitting in the water, so that's what you want, about 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And what I'll do is I'll take this plastic Tupperware pan away, and we'll just set the paper right down on top of the masonite board. And then now that we have this here, we could take a little extra water and just spritz with a spritzer bottle. Spritz around the back of the paper on the top side and then the underside too as well, just to make sure it's firmly seated on the masonite board, or if you have, again, like a plastic clipboard or something to that effect, that'll work. And I'll just push my painting up here a little bit so we can kind of see that it's completely adhered to the board, to the masonite board right now, the entire painting. And then what we'll do is we'll start mixing our color scheme that we're going to use for this painting. And pretty much we're going to use like a blue-purple background, and then we'll put in like the yellows for the daisies and also for the sunflower. So, and then we'll have a little bit of red too, some alizarin crimson, and maybe some rose madder for our other wildflowers that we're going to have in this too. So we're going to have a lot of nice pops of color in this painting. So what I'll do is I'll start mixing the colors, and I just have a fresh, clean water container with fresh, clean water. And incidentally, I have all my art supplies in the comment section below. All the links are to Amazon. I pretty much buy all my art supplies from Amazon, so you just have all that, so you know. You don't have to guess on what I'm using, basically, for my art supplies. And I guess the masonite's not in there, but that's like a specialty item that you can pick up, or you can use something different than this, but this is basically my setup for this type of a composition here. So what I'll do is I'll take cerulean blue. I think that'll be like really, that's a really beautiful blue. Let's use that blue. Let's use some French ultramarine too. We'll put some French ultramarine blue here. Awesome blue. So we have two blues here, and then a little bit of ultramarine violet for the purple. We'll put that there. So we have, and what we're going to do is actually, let's create the glazing, the first glazing of this painting, the light washes first. And we might even use a larger brush. I may try to find myself a larger round brush here. Let's see if I can look around. Well, this will work fine anyway. We have a number, I think this is a number 6 travel brush, a Skoda. So we have, and then we'll use some raw sienna too. So we're going to have kind of like a warm and cool effect. And then also some cadmium lemon yellow. And then a little bit of brown here. These are basically the colors that we're going to use in the painting. We also have some red. Okay, and that's as simple as let's start getting some color. Alizarin crimson, purple, blue. We're just going to start to get some of our background color in. And this is the fun part. This is the first glazing that we're going to do. And it's really just a matter of putting some color throughout. I would go very, very light and sparingly around where the flowers are. We're going to want to try to keep those flowers kind of isolated with lots of white paper. We don't want to get too much of the light first glazing or first wash into the flower area. We just want to keep that first wash. And I'll mix all of the colors everywhere. So if you'll imagine, I'm sort of mixing all of these colors that we just put out onto the palette all the way around all of the areas of the palette, of the painting, I should say. And, you know, that'll be your best bet for a nice harmonized color scheme. And you just maybe down here we'll do a little cooler, like that. Some cerulean blue. Couple of splashes. I'll take some French ultramarine blue, a couple of splashes here and there, and then you can take those splashes and then soften them up a little bit if you want to. Leave a few, diffuse a few with a little bit of a brush stroke or two, with a little bit of a wet damp brush like that. Then I want to keep this table like nice, really nice bright white paper, so I'll lift up any kind of paint that's infiltrating down into my white tablecloth here. So I have a white tablecloth for my table, and that's what I want to do. I want to make sure I keep that really nicely lit with light and no shadowing or anything like that for the most part right now. We can add shadow in as we need to. We could add a touch of some color, but sparingly. I would say just go very, very lightly. Just add a little bit of these colors that we've mixed up here into the background, into the tablecloth, but do it very, very sparingly. Very, like almost like you can't even almost notice it, but it's there. Just like that. And that's really the key. Doing things very subtly in certain areas. In other areas we leave it kind of obvious. So up here it's obvious we're using the colors of our palette, and then here and there, especially down here on the tablecloth, we're using it very sparingly, the colors, but we do have it in there. Okay, now the next step will be to let this dry. I would say maybe an hour. If you have a blow dryer, you could use a blow dryer, but I would avoid kind of using that. I think it's better if you let the paint just dry naturally, the water and paint dry naturally as we go. And I'll actually add a little more water to the back of this paper with my spritzer bottle. So I have a spritzer bottle with fresh, clean water. And I'll just wet the back of the board again. Plenty of water. And set the paper back down again. And then on the bottom too. Just like that. And that's it. And that means that our paper is going to really just stay adhered to our board. And you can kind of see if I turn the paper up like this, you can see it's all completely affixed to the board that we're using. There's no buckling. There's no buckling of the paper whatsoever. That's one of the advantages to using this method and this technique in watercolor. Is you can keep your paper completely adhered to your surface without having buckling and problems with that type of thing, because I know myself many times when I painted in the past, this has happened to you. In the past, you put some really nice washes of glazing onto your paper, and then when you go to paint, like in a half an hour or 20 minutes later, once it starts to dry, there's all these buckles in the paper. This is actually the way around that. There's other ways to do it too. You can completely dry your paper and use gummed blocks. Gummed blocks work great too. The only thing with gum blocks is you have to wait really usually for the gum block to dry 100% before you go back in and start painting, because it does stay in a buckled state for quite a while before you can start painting again. We're here. You can continue painting as much as you want. You just have to be careful with your washes because this is drenched. This paper is now drenched, but it is, again, adhered to the background, as you can see. And that's an advantage. You can continue to work like this. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to actually let this dry for a little while, maybe 15-20 minutes or so. Once that shiny bit of look to your paper starts to dissipate a little bit, that sheen of like that wet glossy look to your paper, when that starts to go away, then that's kind of like your cue that you can go back in and actually start adding some paint to your painting right now. But you just have to be careful. You test out a little spot. If it seems a little bit too wet, give yourself another 10 or 15 minutes. Does that make sense? So you kind of just test it out as you go. You will go in and that's what I'll do right now. I'll take a break right now and we'll let this dry for maybe 15-20 minutes. And again, we'll wait till we see that glossiness of the paper go away, and then we'll see what happens. And then we always want to remember, though, that we definitely, as we're working, we always still want to take the paper and spritz the back of the paper and make sure that the paper is sitting adhered to our surface. That's the main thing. Just like that. All right, let's come back in a few minutes and we'll see what happens. We'll start to test out the paper with our washes once we see that sheen and that little glossiness kind of like dissipate on the watercolor paper itself. All right, so we waited. I waited about 15 minutes or so, 15-20 minutes, and it looks like the shine of the paper has gone away, which is good. That means we can go back in with our darker tonal values, our darker washes now with more pigment, more paint. I will peel this back a little bit and just give it one more spritz of paint, water, I should say. And I'll do the same thing at the bottom of the painting. Like that. This way it stays adhered to my board. And then we're just going to start going in. And the only thing I think I did miss on the beginning was we're going to use green. So let me take a little bit of sap green and add a little sap green to the background color. Just a little bit here and there. Doesn't have to be everywhere. just a few spots here and there, like that. So you'll see I'm just kind of scrubbing on a little bit of that sap green, very lightly though. And the same thing too, a little bit in the foreground here, on the cloth, tablecloth here, a little bit of that green, sap green, just a light sap green, just a tiny bit. And then you can always blot up a little bit with your paper towel or tissue. But that will go a long way to harmonizing all the colors of this painting. Now we have some green in there because we're going to use obviously greens for the leaf forms. All right, so let's get started with our flowers and leaf forms. So what I'll do is I'll get some sap green here and some burnt umber, just so we have a little bit of that sap green. We can neutralize the sap green a little bit with a little bit of that burnt umber. And we did use some burnt umber in the beginning. And French ultramarine blue for a little bit of a cooler green over here. And that's pretty good. We can kind of start with that idea of some darker greens. And we'll just kind of start to get, maybe we'll go down into the vase here and get some dark, couple of darks in the vase here. Some of the stems coming down like this. Like this. And then we will go into our cerulean blue with a little bit of that green. Rinse off the brush, dry off a little bit of the water on a paper towel or sponge or tissue. And we'll just put a little bit of blue across here too, so that we can kind of capture the vase and that shape. So like the vase here is catching some light as it goes in like this. You see the shape of the vase? You see that. The vase goes up straight like we were talking about before. It's like a square, but then it kind of tapers up. The vase tapers up. So around that edge, that's going to be catching some light. We're going to say the light's coming from above, shining down. So that's what we're going to kind of showcase, is that light around the top of the vase is going to be sort of front and center for the interesting part of the light effect of the vase. And then we can add some more cerulean blue and that green here like this, and then you can even add a little bit of color at the bottom of the vase with the cerulean blue and green. But I wouldn't color, or I wouldn't put washes in the entire vase. I would leave a lot of white paper within the vase. Can you see how I did that? That's the thing, is I like to leave a lot of that white paper in the vase area, and that kind of gives it like that feeling that you can see through it. And we will put some more stems in later once this dries. So always remember, you can layer your washes as you go. So you might have pencil lines like we do here that you can see that are like stems coming down from all of these flowers and these leaf forms and things like that within this bouquet. And just remember, you can always go back in and add some of those dark stems once this dries, this wash that we've just created right here. So that's a fun thing to remember. And I'll leave this as it is with lots of white so that we feel like we can see through that. And then there's no reason why we can't add a little bit of a line in the back going across for the back of the table with a little bit of the blue back there like this. And that gives us a feeling like we can see through the vase, which is kind of good. And you can add some shadow down in the bottom of the vase here, some like this. And then let's kind of get in here and get some exciting colors going. Cadmium yellow and cadmium lemon yellow. Let's use those two yellows. We'll start to work some of our daisies here. So I'll put in some cadmium yellow, which is that really kind of orangey yellow. We'll do that there, and over here too as well. And then we can even add some lemony yellow too, like this. like that. And then let's add a little bit of that burnt umber for the center of our So we're going to create that dark center of the sunflower there. Maybe a little bit of gold in there too. We can harmonize some of the colors and use some alizarin crimson here and there. You can just infuse it in a few little spots here and there. Since we're going to use alizarin crimson for some of the flowers, there's no reason why you can't actually add it in a few areas like we're going to do right here. And then you just sort of kind of sneakily put it in there so that you do have some alizarin crimson kind of in other portions of your painting, and it's not just in the one area where we're going to have some flowers. And we do have it up here too, so we did add it up in the first wash, the glazing. Our first glazing, we did add, you know, a decent amount of alizarin crimson up here in the background, and now we're just putting in a little, you know, a little bit here and there in the tablecloth, but just a little light bit of it. So we want to keep that white tablecloth really bright white, almost like white paper. And then again, I did add a little bit of that red here in the vase just to put a little bit of that color in there too. And also there and here and there. Okay, so now we sort of have some good colors working around the whole painting. Some sap green, a little bit of some viridian green there too. And if you want to put some viridian green in the painting, start to just infuse it a little bit everywhere in a few spots here and there. What happens is I kind of start out with a more limited palette, and then if I want to add in colors, and I always like to add in viridian green for some reason, I just find that color so exciting, I just enjoy it so much. But I just remember, if I'm doing that, I'm starting out with a limited palette, like you saw how we just started out with our first bit of colors when we first started, right? Then you can add other colors as you're working, but you just have to remember, let's add it a little bit everywhere. So you did just see now that I'm adding some of that viridian a little bit everywhere, but it doesn't have to be a lot, just a tiny bit, and really light too, like a light, just like mostly water with a little bit of the viridian color. And if you just blot it and put it a few spots here and there, maybe a little bit on the tablecloth, just barely visible, it'll read correctly and everything will look very, very harmonized, all your colors. So let's keep working now on this, and we kind of see we have a lot of good color now. I'll take more viridian green, sap green, a little bit of burnt umber, and a little bit of blue, French ultramarine blue. And this way we can get some really good darks in here too as well. We want to add some darks here and there. And those darks will really kind of just add an excitement to the composition if we have some of those darks. So I would add them very sparingly though. I would not add them in large amounts, just a little bit. So this might be your bit of darks that you put into your painting that are almost like just a tiny amount of them here and there, and that's it. You don't want to do too many. But if you just mix them around a little bit and put them in a few spots, it goes a long way. And you can add a few in here. Just like that, and that should be fine. And then we'll continue working. I rinse off my brush, dry off a little bit on the paper towel or tissue, and then we're going to go in with a more lively green. So let's come over here and add some lemony yellow with a little bit of cerulean blue, and then we have some of that nice green, that nice lively green, and that's where we're going to come up with some of our beautiful leaf forms like this. And you'll be surprised how good that looks. that. And then again, I'll start to put a few of those little dabs of a little bit here and there. And then we'll take a quick break now. We'll let this start to set up a little bit because we have put quite a bit of paint down onto the paper right now. You can kind of see how we added those washes as we were going here through this whole entire composition and painting. So the best thing now is to kind of let this set up a little bit. I'll put a couple splashes of yellow, kind of subtle. And what I'll do is, as I shut the camera down now and I take a break, I'll empty my water container because you can see the water in the water container is pretty murky looking right now. So I want to get back to fresh, clean water. Maybe for my paint, for my palette, I might clean up my palette too and take a paper towel and just like clean off all the colors now, and then start to just work again with a fresh, clean palette, because I think we're at the point now where we have most of the painting done. So I'll start out with some more clean palette with nothing on there, and we already know the colors that we've been using. So we've been talking about all the colors that we've been using. Cadmium, the darks were the burnt umber, French ultramarine blue. We were using cadmium yellow, cadmium yellow lemon. We used some raw sienna. Of course, we used the green, sap green, mixed with the cadmium yellow lemon too as well. And what else did we use? We used a little bit of in the beginning, we used some ultramarine violet, purple, so we can use a little more of that as we're working. And we used a lot of cerulean blue, so you can kind of tell how we used the same sort of colors. And of course, the alizarin crimson and rose madder, we have that in the painting too. And we have some more of those wildflowers that we're going to put in that are the red colors. So we'll have more work to do here, but I think we are pretty much coming along. Maybe we're 75% complete right now. So I'll take this, clean out the water bucket, get fresh clean water in here, clean off my palette so I can get fresh clean colors onto my palette again, and we should finish up probably within the next 15-20 minutes. On our next go, we should be pretty good. We'll get mostly everything completed after this. Okay? All right, let's come right back then in a few minutes.